What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today, and today we're going to be playing a track that I've been waiting to be finished for, I think it's 4 months now. When I was scrolling back through my YouTube videos, I did cover this when it was a work in progress, and this is Billy Goat's Ranch, and it is like a pure sand facility essentially, with a couple of tracks on here, and it looks so much different than when I played it first time round. Now it's got all of the environment and the track decals all finished. Now I played this track last night. You will see I've got like a single tyre track around this track, and I'm glad I did, because it's actually a little bit difficult to work out where you're going most of the time, where the decals like on and off track look quite similar from each other. It's a very technical track. It's fully sand, so I'm actually going to try out the sand tyres today for the first time. And oddly enough, so that we've got the main track over there, and we've got almost like a turny, flowy sand track here, and I actually really like this one. You can see how many laps I've spun just based on all of the tyre marks, but we're going to give it a go. There's an unfinished track over in the distance. Apparently there is going to be updates to come, and there is also another like turny, flowy sand track built on kind of the inbound area of the main tracks, which I haven't even seen until flying over it. It's kind of all hidden and masked by the trees, so that should feel quite cool and immersive once we get in there. But I mean, off the bat, we're going to start on the turn track over here, since it's closest to the house, which I believe is where you spawn. And then we're going to do the big boy. Then we're going to finish it off just inside the trees and see how it goes. I've never tried the sand tyres before. I hope they'll be fun. If not, I'll just switch back to the mid-softs I usually run. So wish me luck, I guess. Right, we're slapping on the Sand 80 front and the Sand 120 rear. Only reason being is those are the ones that I use the mid-soft equivalent of. Now, I generally haven't used these tyres. I think I tried a lap or so of Supercross once. I had a sand section and decided that it wasn't for me anymore. But what was I going to do first? We're going to go over in this direction, kind of follow my trail through the trees. And I generally... So I spun maybe 5-6 laps around here, and I don't actually know which direction it goes in. I'm not sure if there's anything that properly indicates it or not, but it actually ends up being irrelevant because it's a really, really fun track both ways. And it's odd that I enjoyed the secondary track a bit more than the main track on a compound for a change. It gives me a really fun, flowy, like sandy turn track kind of feel, and it's one of them tracks that you can go around the entirety of without sitting down whatsoever. Like, it actually works better if you stand up the whole way. Now, I'm running quite high road. The lines that you can see here, I ran last night on about 2 times deformation, and I'm on 1.5 times now because I realised how deep it does get. So hopefully if we get too many square edges, I might reset the track a little bit. And already, off the bat, I feel like you can see the difference with the sand tyre on the sand and off the sand. I do believe that the grass, like the off-track bit, does have a different terrain or different soil and traction, which is why I feel like a lot of the time mid-softs tend to be the best, because they just offer you a nice middle ground for everything. And only recently, so I've always, on the 250, I always run mid-soft 80, I think, on the front, mid-soft 120 on the rear. Because it kind of offers that good amount of grip. The mid-soft ones on the rear, like the stock Barbosa ones, give you the most traction. So you'd think they'd be the best, but they actually slow you down a little bit too. And tyres were kind of coming into my head again the other day when I raced in Aerial 250 NA, because I'd get really good jumps off the gate. I think my start technique is pretty decent, and then I'd get halfway down the start straight and people would start gaining on me and then pull in front of me by the time we get to the corner. So it seems as if I've got the more grip on the straight, but the tyre's got too much resistance that it slows me down. So I don't know if that is just bike setup, or if people are running maybe 110 tyres on the rear, which would have less resistance. It'd give them a slightly worse jump, I think, because of the traction, but in a straight line they're faster. I don't know, it's one of the things to consider about. And now I think, especially with these OEM bikes where they release with all these new tyres, it just adds so many different variables into the equation. And someone like myself, who's always struggled with bike setups in the past and like really not knowing much about them or what to change in various situations, it just adds a whole different level to it. And you'll see the people that really do know their stuff around setups, they're the ones that are really prevailing at the moment. Like, they know what to change, they know what to do if the bike maybe kicks a slightly wrong way once or twice. They might change a click here and there, or just I've even found that, let's take whoop sections for example, the type of tyre you're running greatly affects your run through the whoops, even on the same suspension. So there's so many things to think about now. And I'll be honest, my small brain just can't handle it most of the time. But hats off to anyone that has sat down and taken the time to learn all of it. And you'll see here, now that I've actually got a lap under my belt, I haven't crashed twice in one lap. It's a very fun, flowy track. I would highly recommend it if you're newer to the game and you just want to practice kind of learning the turning mechanics on this, because there's no set speed that you've got to go around this track on. There's no massive jumps that you've got to hit out of corners. There's nothing super technical about it. You can go around this track as slow or as fast as your heart desires. So start off slow, build it up, kind of practice sitting down or standing up in different situations. I know that's something that people like always ask me about, is when they should be seated or standing. It's such a difficult question to answer. Majority of the time you would expect that you want to stand up on the straights or over rough stuff and sit down in the corners. But it ends up never being like that. I'm constantly kind of modulating between stood up and sat down, even in and out of corners, in the air at random different points, just depending on what I want the bike to do. And no two corners really are the same on this game, especially when your road kicks in. And it all just comes down to feel and muscle memory, and you'll make split decisions sometimes on how the bike's reacting if you want to then quickly stand up and sit down again, and vice versa. So again, it's such a difficult question to really work on. But this little sand flowy fun track here, perfect example of something quite simple that you could probably end up grinding and getting very, very good at, and it's just a great way to learn your bike all around. But I think you've seen me kind of riding around on a flat track enough. Let me quickly teleport over with the power of editing to the main track, and you can see me struggle a hell of a lot. I did have a lot of difficulty last night when I run my singular lap around there, so wish me luck again. Alright, emerging from the trees, here we go. I have no idea where this track starts and ends. It's a difficult one because there's a lot of blind jumps on it. There's a lot of corners that really sneak up on you quite quickly. So I might be a little bit hesitant in some places. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that track map. You see here like really tight technical bits, and then there's some super long wide open areas as well. I love this sort of thing that you've got right here on sand tracks, where you can essentially, if you get into the right rhythm, you can double your way around the entirety of the track. Much easier said than done, depending on the difficulty of said track as well. But what I done last night is I turned my reshade off because I found the decals a little bit too white for my liking. Not racially motivated, I promise, but it was a little bit too bright for my eyes, so I did struggle to decipher like the on track compared to the off track, you know, obviously not the grass bit, but just the slightly lighter off track texture. But yeah, let's spin a lap or two around here, and I can't remember because it's been 4 months. I can't remember just how much has changed in terms of the track itself from now to the work in progress version. I will, if I remember, if I actually edit this as soon as I've finished recording it and upload it, if I remember, I'll put the work in progress video in the description as well. If you guys want to compare, you're more than welcome to do so. But yeah, it was interesting. I went down a little bit of a trip down memory lane because I was scrolling through my videos to work out how long ago the work in progress version was uploaded, sorry, because I have zero brain and upload videos with the titles that have no context to the tracks whatsoever. I couldn't remember what I called it. I tried searching, I was like, work in progress, Billy Goat, anything, and I couldn't find it. So I had to scroll through my videos one by one, and I actually went past it by mistake. And I was scrolling way back to like over a year ago, and it was a nice little trip down memory lane, looking at my old videos and seeing where the content was and where it's come to now. And I scrolled down to April 2022, and I don't know how I was doing it, because bear in mind I was working a full 9 to 5:30 job at the time. I was doing double uploads every single day. I was an absolute animal. I think that's when Monster Energy Supercross came out, and I knew Supercross 5 or Supercross 1.5, and I knew that it was such a controversial game in terms of the few people that enjoy it, that I had to also upload MX bike stuff every day as well, to keep you guys like happy and satisfied. So I was just grinding like 2 videos every single day, as well as working a 9 to 5:30. No wonder I was gaining so much bloody weight. I must have been the most immobile person on the planet, just sitting in my desk from 9 to 5, and then sitting in the desk longer, like all evening, recording and editing and uploading. But it kind of just shows that I think I've been slacking recently. I won't lie to you guys. I feel like I'm fine being quite open and honest, and I feel like the videos recently I feel like they've been just quite easy to make. There's not been any real hard fault in sitting down, recording and uploading. For the most part, they've been track walks, essentially, same as this one has, although this is a little bit different, where we've kind of been waiting a long time for this track to come out, and now I finally get to play it. But I'm going to try a little bit harder. I'm not going to go and say that, oh, you're going to get double uploads every single day again, because there's no real point. I feel like sometimes that does affect the quality, is when you're trying to force out more content than you should. I feel like one a day sometimes might even be overkill for some of you you casual MX Bikes fans and viewers, but I like doing it anyway. I'm very much a man of schedule, so if I am in a schedule, if I'm in a routine, very hard for me to break it. It's the same with this whole exercise / body composition thing that I'm doing, where the beginning of it's really difficult, but now I'm in the flow of it and in the swing of things. The eating, like, a lot better, is not difficult for me anymore. I don't really get tempted by the fatty foods that I used to. Going to the gym isn't a pain in the arse anymore. It gets to like 8 or 9 p.m. in the evening. I'm like, right, okay, gym time, off we go. And it's not really a mental struggle. And I think the same will go for YouTube and YouTube videos and so on and so forth. And bearing in mind, this is still my job right now, essentially. So I feel like I'm almost taking it for granted a little bit, which I'm just straight up going to say isn't really acceptable, and I do apologise for. And don't know if anyone's really commented the same thing, or if it's just something that you haven't wanted to say because it might be being too nice, but that's how I feel, at least. I feel like maybe I've been just slacking a little bit. I know I definitely have been in terms of streams. My one worry when it comes to streams is getting burnt out, because I just don't want to be trying to grind out like 2 or 3 streams a week for 2, 3, 4 hours, and then like Bike Speed ends up being the only thing I play. You know, I do like that little bit of variety. So I'm almost tempted as well, because someone asked if I was going to play Sons of the Forest that's just come out. Asked about the whole second channel as well, and it's very, very tempting to revamp it, even though I know it's not going to be anything like amazing. You might get 100-200 views per video. I think it would be nice as just something slightly different to make my whole YouTube and recording experience less repetitive, if that makes sense. Because whilst I owe a lot of things to bikes, you know, it's been incredible for me. It's the only reason the channel really exists, and I guess it's why 99% of you guys are even here. Every single lap I jump off the track there and go over. I'm so sorry. It's nice to mix things up. So yeah, maybe I'll revamp the Lynn's Plays channel. It's currently something completely different. It was Lynn's Plays, and then I changed it to some sort of like active but idle game where I was going to upload like the most random Flash games ever, and obviously that kind of tanked. And that one video that I've done about, like, what was the game called? It's like you're launching a turtle out of a cannon, and you upgrade it and you shoot it further and further for money, and that literally took me half a day plus to go through and record the whole thing, because you're essentially completing a game in one video. It's not practical, so I might just rebrand it back to Lynn's Plays. If there's any games that I fancy, even if it's not full story mode games like Sons of the Forest, for example, if it's even me just playing like FIFA with Charlie, I know 1 or 2 people mentioned that they might want to see that. Obviously, there'd be a lot of bleeping. There's a hell of a lot of cuss words that go into it when we're not playing MX Bikes. Like this, I feel like Bikes is probably one of the least rage-inducing games that we play. But it's tempting. Let me know what you think. I know some of you more die-hard channel fans are interested in it. I know that a bunch of you are really only interested in the motocross side of things, which is completely okay. I'm absolutely fine with that. The only thing that I will say is, if you ever are going to subscribe to that channel when I get it sorted, only do so if you really plan on watching the videos, because YouTube is a very weird and complex system, especially when it comes to video views. And one of the biggest things on it actually is it takes into account how many subscribers you have and then how many views you're really getting per video. And it kind of works out like, okay, if let's just use this channel as an example. If there's 40,000 plus subs, maybe the video's only getting 2,000 views, and majority of people aren't really liking what's being put up on the channel, so we're not going to recommend it to more people. So it's actually a detriment to have more subs and less views. You're much better off having less subs and more views overall, because then YouTube's like, oh, this content creators putting out really good stuff. People are kind of clicking on it. The thumbnail or title must be really engaging and getting them to just want to click and watch straight away. So we'll push it out to more people. We'll get more and more views on there. So it's definitely a difficult one on the old YouTube, because I do always say like and subscribe to the video, but sometimes subscribing just for the sake of it can be a detriment. But I do appreciate all of you nonetheless. I get comments every now and then on some of my really old videos where it's like, oh, 1,000 subscriber setup or 4,000 subscriber live stream, and they're like, well, it's only been a year and we're at 47k, which is still ridiculous, and that's the part I don't take for granted. Maybe the video side of things I have been, but the numbers and the support from everybody, I do not. Whilst on a day-to-day basis, I still just feel like Connor. I don't feel like Linz at all. It feels weird sometimes when I sit down and think about, like, I don't know how to say it without sounding like a complete arsehole, but in a way I'm best way of doing it, minor celebrity in a very niche video game. That's the best way of doing it. So I am nobody, but I'm somebody to a very niche bunch of people, if that makes sense. But yeah, a lot of time I still feel like Connor. So if you're watching my live streams and I'm like raging at people when I'm crashing and this, that and the other, it's because in the moment I'm just that guy that just plays video games and races and is super competitive. I forget how many people are going to be watching a lot of the time, so if that does offend you, I'm sorry for it, but it's still not going to change. You know, if I'm crashing into somebody and in the heat of the moment I blame them, even though it's like glaringly my fault, it's because we're in a race with prize money on the line, and it's a serious thing to me, at least. I know it can probably come across as quite sad to some people, but I can't change. That's who I am. So you are going to love me or you are going to hate me. It's just one of them things. So we tried out those first 2 tracks. Let's try out this last one. And this is one of the other ones that I think I did briefly ride around in. Let's get around here in the work in progress build, and again another one that I have absolutely no clue where it goes. It was quite hard to tell simply because, actually, what's the face of that look like? I think it is completely the other way around. Just based on that one jump alone, it seemed way too sharp. This seems much better. Yeah, very hard to tell when it comes to sand rollers, because there's no like definitive jump faces at all, like no proper takeoff and landing. You're just doubling your way around everywhere. This one's quite cool because it does jump across the track, as you've just seen up here. Let's go through here, little boink, up and over, lovely, and then we go round to the left. At least we've got kind of cones to keep us on the track here. I'm not sure. Oh god, where does this go? Oh, over to the right. Thank you. Now I don't think there's like proper working timing gates for any of these ones. They're definitely going the right way now. These are just kind of the fun turn track, give you a little bit of practice. It's only the main track that has timing on. As you see, I didn't actually complete a lap without going off the bloody track because I'm so awful at this game. But it's definitely been fun nonetheless. I'm glad that he got round to finishing it. He did actually. I think he thanked myself, Troy, Jan, and Ian for kind of covering the work in progress track in the past and kind of speaking well on it and kind of praising it, because he said he probably wouldn't have finished it if it wasn't for those words of motivation. So it does pay to be kind. So for all of you people that are unnecessarily cruel to people's track releases and you just do a lap of the track and because you crash you say, oh, this track's garbage, like L, never make tracks again, you do impact people. So maybe just try and be a little bit nicer, I guess, and you'll get more tracks for it in the end. This is, I feel like I'm getting very bloody lucky with downside in some of these sand doubles, because if I was to come up a little bit short or a little bit too far, I'm pretty sure I'd be wadding myself. But so far so good. And this is a very like this. The track's so much longer than it appears. And oh, there we go. Back. That's a lap of that. It's quite hard to tell at any given point where you are in at the lap. Obviously, one, because there's no track map for this particular turn track, but also because it's so encompassed by like the foliage and the trees that it's hard to tell where you are in relation to anything else, which I do kind of like in a way. It reminds me of like some really old like Jeffrey Hurlin's sand riding videos where he's in this same sort of environment, just like little tiny thin sand trail encompassed by a whole bunch of trees around you, and it just immerses you a bit more. I imagine playing something like this in VR would be hella fun, which is still on my to-do list at some point. I think I only mentioned it a few videos ago. But it's something that I definitely need to get round to. Maybe... Oh, there's not even any upcoming events that I can treat myself for. I've had my birthday. Christmas is a very long way away. Oh, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. One day. We'll see. Maybe I can just like bribe Aiden or someone like that to send me theirs for a while and see how that goes. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. The tracks, they're super flowy. Oddly enough, I think it is just a skill issue. But the very first track that I covered and this one, I actually kind of enjoy a little bit more than the main track. I think it's just to do with the whole flow of it. And I'm sure if I played the main track more than like the 4 laps total that I've done so far, I'd probably learn my way around it. I'd learn where to brake and where to not launch off the track and be absolutely fine. I think me as a player of this game, I just kind of enjoy this sort of riding a little bit more, where you're just flowing through trees. I like my trails. I suppose it's a bit like trail riding in some sort of way, where it's a much skinnier path and an open track. But I think Bakemontos has done a very good job of this. He's been on the track grind recently. He's been putting out a whole bunch of content for us, so massive shout out to him. And then thank you obviously for getting this one done. I know firsthand how difficult it is to get back into a project that you've put down. Like, it's very unmotivating, but you've done it now. You can breathe. You haven't got to work on it again, unless you do want to finish that track that we just have the layout for over in the distance, that it has no kind of bumps or anything like that on it. Then feel free. I'll probably play it again. Probably won't do another video on it just for that one track, but we've got all of these 3 covered here for you. And let me know your thoughts on it. Have you played the track yet? Do you enjoy it? If not, I'll leave it down below, as I mentioned earlier. Do like the video if you enjoyed this one, and subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content. I certainly appreciate it. We're getting closer to that 50k mark. No idea what I'm going to do for it. Probably not going to be a special or anything like that. I'll cross that boat when I get to it. Maybe I'll let you guys come up with ideas. No face cam suggestions, please. I did already say that that's at 100, not 50. So before anyone suggested that's not English. Before anyone suggests that, it's on the list, just further along the line. So thank you for watching. Have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Peace.